The offense is more top heavy and has better star power.
Yes.
But the defense is a little bit deeper. And the questions about the defense are more about how good are the guys at the top of the depth chart. Because at edge rusher, for instance, I think we don't expect Bryce Huff to be as good as Hassan Reddick was the last 2 years. He should be good, but not quite that good. Josh Sweat is probably a little bit on the downturn from what we saw from him 2 years ago. You've got, Brandon Graham is toward the end of his career. Now Nolan Smith should be on the upcome. What do you like?
A little Josh Sweat shade is unnecessary here. The guy's 27 years old. Downturn? No, it's not.
You liked the 0 sacks over the second half of the season that he had?
You thought concentrate that was good? Over the last portion of the season. You
thought the trend line was good there?
I think for a year and a half,
he was one of the team was basically begging other teams to trade for him.
I thought for a year and a half he was a productive pass rusher.
Those were positive
I thought for a year and a half he was a productive pass rusher, and I think if I have to bet on characteristics, I'll bet on 6'5", 260 pounds, has natural talent that Lane Johnson and Chris Long have told me stand out at edge rusher. So I'm taking their word
on when he was an ascending player. Do you believe he is still an ascending player?
I think he's an his prime player. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Who had a bad?
You think he would have
a bad 8-week stretch?
You think that he would have willingly taken a pay cut and not sought out the open market if he thought that he was not a declining player?
I think he knows the way the last 8 games went, and I think he's trying to. He wants to create a situation where he can go into free agency next year after a big season and get a payday.
Okay. Anyway, even with JLX Hunt there, and even some of the down roster guys like Julian Okwara, I think we would expect that the top of the depth chart on the outside will not be as good, but they've got capable bodies that they can throw at people.
You're absolutely right,
and I think they are a little bit injury fortified.
And I think the way you framed it about the top-heavy offense versus the depth on defense was brilliant, because I did not think about it that way. And then I look at my spreadsheet here, and I have a bunch of 1s and 2s on offense. But then, and for the audience, we're doing 1s. You're most concerned. 5, you're set there for the depth. And I have a number of 5. I have 5 5s here for how I feel about the depth at on defense, like both edge spots. I feel good that if Sweat went down, if Huff goes down, Brandon Graham and Nolan Smith, that's quality depth right there, right? At corner,
right? Let's just jump to corner because there is no place that they are deeper than corner.
Exactly. So whether it's Rodgers or Ringo or Mitchell, whoever gets that job, the Gene in the slot, if Maddox gets the job. And perhaps the Gene's the starter, but then you have Maddox as your top backup. You have players at multiple spots here who, again, I might be overreacting to the spring, but I feel like the depth is better there. Last year we talked about Zach McPherson as like their top backup in the slot, and we talked about Josh Jobe as their top backup on the outside. They are in a much different spot this year.
Right. Case in point, Josh Jobe is still here, and is 7th on the depth chart. Now he may make the team because he's such a good special teams player, but it's not because of what he brings at that position. Let's just jump over to safety then, because that's another place where I think once Sidney Brown is healthy, they're in pretty good shape here, especially if James Bradbury is playing safety and is on the team.
I don't anticipate that being the case.
You don't think that? You don't. No. The James Palmer nugget from yesterday has not moved you that much.
It has not, but as we've said about James Bradbury, there's no financial benefit for them to move on from him, right? They guaranteed his salary no matter what. So unless a team trades for him, the Eagles are paying him X no matter what this year. So you can pay him X not to be on the team, or you can pay him X to be on the team. Sometimes there's...
Can you pay him in X?
What does that mean?
As opposed to giving him money, you give him X.
Oh, no. No, you have to pay him money. But sometimes we in the media or fans pay too much attention to the cap hit and not the cash allocation. Like the cap hit, the Eagles already accounted for. But you can cut a guy and then you absorb the cap hit, but you don't have to pay him. But the Eagles are paying Bradbury no matter what. So the only reason to move on is if that roster spot is more valuable to you. So maybe the roster spot is. Maybe they say Bradbury's a good guy to have in the locker room. Let's keep him around.
And I think Avonte Maddox being able to play safety changes the depth discussion here too. I think this is another one where, like, are the safeties good enough? We'll find out. But I think they've got a few options if guys go down.
Agreed. And I would throw DeJean in there as well.
Potentially, which we have not seen yet. The place where they are probably the least deep, the shallowest, if you will, is defensive tackle. Right?
Yes.
You've got your top three in Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter. But after that, I like Moro Ojomo. I think he's a player to believe in.
He's a Bo guy. He might be the camp crush this year.
I don't think so.
Too mainstream?
He was core 4 last year.
Okay. You moved on. Yeah. You can't dance with the girl you took last year, right? You gotta find.
Well, I did do that with Reed Blankenship.
That's true.
But,
okay. Yes. Yeah. You don't ask the same girl to prom 2 years in a row. You try to.
Again, I did do that last year.
Yeah.
With Reed Blankenship.
But you're not gonna do it with Moro.
I just think he's too popular now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Everybody's on Moro.
He's so popular. Everyone's talking. Hey, everywhere I go, people are saying, "What do you think of Moro Ojomo this year?"
You, Mr. Ben Van Sumer, and Palpable Buzz.
Was it your friend who brought that up?
I think it was Jeffrey.
No, Jeffrey wouldn't be bringing that up.
So you've got Moro Ojomo, Marlon Tuipulotu, Gabe Hall, who we have talked about.
Oh, yes.
As the undrafted player from Baylor. PJ Mustapher as the backup nose tackle, potentially. I still think this is a spot where if we're doing a show on July, 15th.
And we do shows 5 days a week, every day. So there will be a show.
You pop into the studio bouncing around the walls because we've actually got some Eagles news and you're thrilled that it's not going to be just a made up show. It's going to be because they've signed a defensive tackle.
Yeah. Are you back for the July 15th show?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. So that's an exciting show because Bo and I reunite to start
there you go.
To start the summer or to start the camp season. So it's a week before. There might be.
When are you taking time?
Wait, real quick. There might be a big article that's dropping on all PHLY at 5 a.m. on July 15th. I'm just telling you that right now. There's a piece that's coming out on 5 a.m. on July 15th. Mark your calendars. Make sure you're a diehard. You are going to read that, and you're going to have insight on one of the most important people in the organization going into this season.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for selling that.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. There might be an extensive interview that was done that can be released, or that the story is going to come out on July 15th to drum up interest for training camp. Wow, okay. What a sell, Bo. This year. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I think defensive tackle, they're pretty shallow.
Man, this is why you develop thick skin on this show, right? You get excited about a story, and I haven't even written it. You're already poo-pooing it.
I mean,
get insight.
We're not allowed to talk about it.
You get to find out what makes somebody tick. I'm not telling you what it is. I'm just saying, yeah. Man, all right. Well,
pretty meh.
Thanks for selling that, Bo. But please be a diehard so you can read this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
I think this is also tied in with the conversation we've had about how many snaps these guys are going to play, and part of the risk of if you're turning the knob up on snaps for Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Not only do you risk them being less effective, but you risk them getting injured. And so they need to be a little bit deeper here. Mm-hmm. I think this is a spot where, again, I think that they might add somebody.
Agreed. I think they need to for sure.
Yeah. How about linebacker? How do you feel about linebacker?
Yeah, so I feel good about the guy who loses between Bond and Dean, right? Because I think if you're looking at two linebackers, I think they're...
By the way, Bond also a part of the depth on the edge
rusher. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Now I don't know if I should feel good yet about Zach Bond in the middle. Like he did not play extend. He was more of a special teams guy with the Saints. Nakobe Dean, for that matter, hasn't done as much with the Eagles. But I think you have two NFL players there as the backup. The other backup would be Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
And Oren Burks.
Yeah. Oren Burks played in the Super Bowl. So, yeah. So, I think they have playable depth. But,
I actually think this is like the perfect example of, is the top good enough? Maybe not, but I think they've got enough. They've got enough bodies, and probably more bodies than they had entering last year.
Exactly.
That they can throw out there. Yeah. Okay.
We all silly like the mayor.